Hi there, everyone. Good morning. It is a busy time of year, so I'm so thankful that you're joining me today. While you're coming in, I just want to say welcome. And in the comments, if you're new here, why don't you put a thumbs up so I can greet you? And you can say hi if you're not new too, but I'd love to give a shout out to anybody who's new here for the first time. And anybody, of course, feel free to share what you're drinking today. Hi Meg, hi Jamie. Thanks for the love. Just want to give everybody a couple minutes to get in here and share what you're drinking. Debbie's drinking water. Please put your first name in your comments so I can see it. Lisa's drinking decaf. Hi Lisa, hi Debbie. Moms with Alice, welcome to you. Jamie, I know it's been a long time. I'm so happy to see you here. Meg is drinking bone broth. Beautiful. And I said that word on purpose, Meg. Meg is at Eat Beautiful. Jay Sewer, welcome to you. Katie is drinking rooibos tea with honey and lemon. Yum. Wonderful. Okay. Well, everybody getting situated, so make sure you got a drink to sip on. I sometimes forget to take drinks. I'm going to try not to. Sev is drinking water, forgot her earphones at home, and the janitor's vacuuming. Oh no. Jamie's drinking salt water. Love that. We do need our salt, don't we? Nearly every morning I have lemon water with a pinch of salt added. What I'm drinking today is Tahitian vanilla hazelnut tea. It's one of Yogi Tea's beautiful teas. It has chicory root, carob, cinnamon, cardamom, ginger, butterscotch, vanilla, hazelnut, clove bud, black pepper, and it also has cinnamon bark oil added. I love this tea. It's one of my favorites. While you guys are all joining, I wanted to see if you knew about these cool things. My favorite brand of stevia is Sweet Leaf, and they have these stevia tabs. And I'll show them to you. So it's this little tin of tabs, and each one is like this. Do you see that? I know it's so tiny, but it's like the perfect amount of stevia for a cup of tea or coffee or herbal DIY coffee, whatever you're drinking. This Sweet Leaf stevia doesn't leave an aftertaste. I love it. So if I have a really big mug, I use 2 tabs. If I have a normal size mug, I use 1 tab. Love this stevia. So if you guys are interested, look for the Sweet Leaf brand stevia tabs. They are on Amazon. I will include a link to this in the show notes or into the YouTube recording. So if you want to just come back later and check it out, or if you're watching the replay later, just look below and you'll see a link to these tabs. Yes, and somebody mentioned a great stocking stuffer. That is so true. Well, it looks like we've got about 17 people on live. The hearts are flowing. So let me greet you all. Thank you for being here for Ask Wardee. And thank you all if you're checking this out later as a replay too. A recap, Ask Wardee is on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. It is the show where I answer your questions about traditional cooking. My name is Wardee Harmon, and I'm the lead teacher and owner of TraditionalCookingSchool.com. I'm also the author of The Complete Idiot's Guide to Fermenting Foods. I love traditional cooking, going back to our roots before the food industry, how food was prepared slowly and nutritiously, digestibly. And by slow, I don't mean it takes a lot of time. No, I just mean we take care to prepare food to make it very nutritious and digestible. Methods like culturing dairy, like kefir and yogurt, some simple cheeses. Of course, you can get complex too, but I do things simple. Sourdough. Those are old-fashioned traditional cooking methods. Pickling, old-fashioned pickling, like sauerkraut and pickles. Those are traditional foods, and so that's what we do at Traditional Cooking School. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for sharing. A couple housekeeping notes before we get into today's question. Tap the screen to show love. You can also share by swiping right or down depending on your device. You can share to Periscope, Twitter, or Facebook. I appreciate the shares. If there's anything you see, such as this, that you want to remember later, you can take a screenshot to save it. On the iPhone, that's pressing the home button and the top button at the same time. But if you're on a desktop, you probably have your keystroke to do that. Anyway, feel free to take screenshots. This is the Ask Wardee Show. I answer your questions. I take 1 traditional cooking question every week, and we have a queue. And so here's how to submit your questions. You can tweet it, use the hashtag AskWardee and tweet it to @TradCookSchool, or you can email me, Wardee, W-A-R-D-E-E, at askwardee.tv, and then I'll put it in the queue. And we have a very good question today that comes from Alyssa, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, but it is highly related to a fundamental principle of traditional cooking that we teach at Traditional Cooking School. And if you aren't already signed up, here's where you can take a screenshot. Be sure to go to tradcookschool.com/freevids to get 5 free videos. One of them is about soaking grains, another is about soaking beans, and these are the 2 things we're addressing in today's question. So if you'd like some video instruction on what I'm talking about, here's where you go. So take a screenshot if you'd like. Okay. Hey, before we start, what color are your hearts today? I think Megan is the gold. Is that true, Megan? And did you guys know that you're assigned a color of hearts? So somebody's pink and somebody's gold that I can see tapping the screen with hearts. We've got a lime green and a peach and a dark green, and a dark purple, a pink. I love the color. So Megan is yes, gold. So if you figure out what color you are, you can go ahead and pop that in the comments. It'll be fun to see. Lisa's yellow. Debbie's peach. Awesome. All right. So here's our question today on Ask Wardee. It is from Alyssa F. And she says, hi, I'm curious if I can use kombucha instead of apple cider vinegar, whey, or lemon juice when soaking grains or legumes the night before. Thanks, Wardee. Well, thank you, Alyssa, for your question. And here's the answer. Yes. But I'm not going to leave it at that. I could just tell you yes, but I want to explain a couple of things. First of all, we may have some people on here or watching the replay later that don't know what we mean by soaking grains or beans. What is that? Well, soaking is the very simple traditional food prep method of making your grains and your beans, or seeds really, because it applies to nuts and what you think of as seeds, like pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, makes them more nutritious and digestible. Because seeds, whether it's a grain, bean, nut, or seed, they have a couple things that we consider anti-nutrients. One of them is phytic acid, and that is an anti-nutrient that if we don't do anything about it, we consume the seed, whether it's ground up into flour or in a chili or whatever. If you consume it without taking care of it, it binds with minerals in your digestive tract and can lead to mineral deficiencies. Mineral deficiencies are rampant in today's world. Our soils are mineral depleted. Just nearly everybody has mineral deficiencies. So the better we can prepare our grains and seeds to handle that phytic acid, the better off we are. We don't want to lose any more minerals than we need to, right? So that's issue number 1 with seeds, including grains and beans. Issue number 2 is enzyme inhibitors. So the seeds, they're like locked up and ready to sprout by planting, and we eat them. They're a wonderful food, but if we don't take care to soak, sprout, or ferment, those are grain prep methods, seed prep methods, if we don't take care to do that, the enzyme inhibitors can also cause us problems. Basically, they inhibit the enzymes, our own digestive enzymes, from working, and we only have a limited supply of them. And our body has to make metabolic enzymes and digestive enzymes. So if we're just wasting our digestive enzymes, it's like we're wasting our body's resources. And that's why a lot of people might get stomach aches from eating nuts. It might not be the nuts themselves. It might be the enzyme inhibitors, where if they would soak their nuts first and then eat them, they may not have a tummy ache. It's a possibility. So that's the issue with soaking. And soaking is just one of 3 methods for seeds. We can soak, sprout, or ferment /sourdough. And Alyssa's question today is talking about soaking. So we're going to particularly talk about that. I'm glad you're finding this helpful. So that's the question. That is, what is soaking and why soaking? That's the first thing I want to say. So if you're here listening live, tell me in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if we're on the same page and you understand. You can also share in the comments. Be sure to include your first name. Tell me if you are in the practice of regularly soaking your grains or beans currently. Let me know that. And thank you for the love, everyone. And while I'm taking a drink here, if you want to take a moment to share, if you like what you're hearing, share with your followers on Periscope, Twitter, or Facebook so they can join the fun too. So we've got a just started. Angie says, yes, I soak. And Jamie says, oh yes, so important for us. Being happy first says happy. So I'm going to take that as a yes. Yes, we're on the same page. Debbie says, I soak beans. Meg says, yes, always. I really notice a difference. No stomach pain. And we have a I've soaked for about a year from Dina. Elizabeth says, I'm not, but I'm getting there. Well, you can do it, Elizabeth. Beans. We're soaking beans. Danielle says, I can only eat beans soaked while pregnant. Interesting. No, but we'll try now, says Katie. Good. Cass says, I always soak seeds and I use sourdough for grains. Awesome. Okay, so the second part of answering Alyssa's question, because she said, can I use kombucha instead of soaking for grains and beans? The second part of that is, well, what is the soaking process anyway? The soaking process is you take your grains or your beans, even your flour, you combine it with warm water and an acid, and you give it at least 7 to 8 hours or overnight. And the acid neutralizes the phytic acid. And it just really takes care of the anti-nutrients to make the grains or beans or whatever it is more digestible and nutritious for us. So it's very, very simple. You're not spending any more time on what you're doing. You're just starting it a little bit earlier and working in that soaking time. Okay, part 3 now. Alyssa's asking, well, can I use kombucha? Because so often soaking recipes will say, combine your flour with water, whatever liquid, and lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, or what else do they say? Whey. Anyway, some kind of acid. Well, and she's saying, can I use kombucha? So I need to tell you what kombucha is. Kombucha is a fermented beverage. It involves a SCOBY. I'll have a link for you in the show notes if you want to see more about it, but it's a probiotic beverage that involves a culture of bacteria and yeast, and there are acids in this finished beverage. So kombucha itself is an acid. It contains acids. So yes, it can replace apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, regular vinegar, because the thing is, it's not those particular things, it's an acid. You need an acid medium in your soaking. So kombucha is a fermented beverage with acids in it, so yes, you can use kombucha. So if a recipe says take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with a cup of water and half cup of rice and soak overnight, you can simply substitute the kombucha for the apple cider vinegar or the lemon juice or the white vinegar or whatever acid it calls for. It's a straight substitution, just use kombucha instead. Everybody on the same page? I saw a comment there about somebody making kombucha with green tea. We do love that too. So everybody on the same page? The hearts are flowing, thank you. So I'm going to take that as everyone nodding, yes, we're on the same page. Okay, does anybody currently here use kombucha in soaking? I think it's an interesting thing to do, and sometimes I recommend that people use kombucha simply because we got a check mark from being happy first, simply because kombucha is not quite as sour as apple cider vinegar. So like a soaked rice recipe where you don't actually drain the water after the soaking, you just cook right in it, might be pretty sour with the vinegar there. But if you use kombucha, it's not quite so sour. Now, of course, you have the option of draining, but you don't have to drain your soaking water when you soak rice overnight, for instance. So if you went with kombucha instead, you'd have a very simplified process and a not sour result. So it's an option if that's all you've got, but it's also an option you might choose if you prefer a less sour result. Danielle says, yep, I just bottled a bunch of over sour bucha. I love that for that very purpose. Good for you. Okay, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I just mentioned 2 reasons why you might want to use kombucha. One, and this is the final aspect of today's show. 1, it may be all you have. 2, it may be, you've got a lot of it, like Danielle just mentioned, it's overly sour, you want to use it up. 3rd, it might be a desired flavor that you want in the end, like the kombucha is less sour than apple cider vinegar, and so you just want kind of the benefit of the acid soaking without the strong apple cider vinegar taste. The 4th reason is, remember I told you that kombucha was a fermented beverage, so it has live cultures in it, and anytime you soak with live cultures, you're making the soaking enhanced beyond simply an acid soak. Lemon juice, white vinegar, those don't have any beneficial organisms in them, so it's simply the acid doing the soaking. But if you use a bioactive, I call it, soaking acid, like raw apple cider vinegar has cultures, kombucha, or you could do water kefir. If you use any of those acid liquids that have beneficial organisms in it, it actually adds a bioactive element to the soaking. It's sort of like the beginning stages of a fermentation. And on the scope of grain or seed prep methods, you have soaking, sprouting, and fermenting. Fermenting is actually the most effective way to make your grains, beans, seeds, nuts most digestible and nutritious. So if you're using an acid medium that has beneficial cultures in it for your soaking, you are kind of turning it into a mini early fermentation and getting enhanced benefits through that soaking. Does that make sense, everyone? I don't want to tell you it's like a full-on ferment, but it has elements of a fermentation because those organisms are present and they're eating the starches and sugars in whatever you're soaking. And so for whatever duration of time you give the grains or beans with that acidic medium that has organisms in it, whatever duration of time that is, there is going to be some starch consumption on the part of the organisms, and that only leads to more nutritious and digestible grains, beans, nuts, seeds. We got a thumbs up in the comments. I feel like that's kind of a complex thing to explain, and I'm just thinking through it logically rather than telling you I read this somewhere. But I know enough about fermentation. When you have organisms involved, they're consuming starches and sugars and flours. So if you introduce some of that in a simple soak, it just is completely logical that the organisms are going to enhance the straight acid soak. Seems pretty logical to me. So that was 5 reasons you may want to use kombucha to soak your grains and beans. Now, I have time to take a question or two related to Alyssa's question. So while you guys are thinking or typing your questions, include your first name. I want to run through a couple housekeeping things. Number 1 is, if you want to submit a question to Ask Wardee in the future, use the hashtag Ask Wardee, it's right behind me, and tweet your question to @TryToCookSchool, or you can email me at wardee@askwardee.tv. I'd love to put your questions in the queue. And remember, we've been talking about a fundamental practice of traditional cooking, namely soaking. And if you haven't yet gotten your free video series that gives you video instruction on soaking grains and beans using acid such as kombucha, you can get that at tradcookschool.com/free-vids. 5 free videos. 2 of them are on soaking. Actually, 3 of them, because we do nuts as well in this free video series. I'm going to keep talking, and I'm just going to, if the comments are quiet, I'm going to assume everybody's good, but the hearts are flowing, so I think that tells me you're all good. And just remember, come back again for Ask Wardee next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I will be back here. And if you're on Periscope tomorrow, I'll be recording my podcast live tomorrow sometime on Periscope. That's Thursday. Okay, we got our first question here. So, Alice, Moms with Alice, can kefir be used to soak overnight oatmeal? Yes, definitely. Kefir is acidic. It also has those organisms I was talking about. So if you are combining your oats and water the night before, I didn't say this, but apple cider vinegar, whey, lemon juice, kombucha, water kefir, dairy kefir, yogurt, those are all suitable acid soaking mediums. And the ones like yogurt or kefir or water kefir or kombucha or raw apple cider vinegar that have the beneficial organisms, the mother culture, assuming they're raw, if they have active cultures, they're going to enhance your soaking. So yes. Yes, you can, Alice. Any other questions? I see the hearts are still flowing, so that's great. So as I was saying, you can hop on Periscope tomorrow and join me as I record my podcast live. And if you've got time right now, you want to stay on Periscope but switch over to my friend Megan's channel, @MegEatBeautiful, because she is scoping next at about 10:30 Pacific. And today she's talking about, this is so important, you guys. She's going to talk about the long-term emotional and mental results and even benefits of believing that she was dying. She has an amazing story. Several years ago, she was diagnosed that she would die soon. And it's heartbreaking, actually. But I'm really glad she's a dear friend. I'm really glad she's here to tell us about it and to share with us that she's had some long-term emotional and mental results and even benefits from that experience. Thanks everyone for joining me today. I'll see you again possibly tomorrow to record my podcast, but definitely next Wednesday, drink in hand for Ask Wardee. Love you all and God bless you.